Good morning, everybody, and welcome to PSG of Mercer County. And happy Aloha Friday. So as I like to do every Friday is wear my Hawaiian shirt. I know some of you do as well. So here we are celebrating Aloha Friday. And also, in addition to being Aloha Friday, today is National Nachos Day. So if you like Mexican food, if you like nachos, today may be a nice day to do it. Looks like it'll be a pleasant day outdoors. Maybe you can find a nice restaurant and sit outdoors, have some nachos with your meal. You can make them at home with some chips and salsa and cheese. You can make them at home in your oven. And PSG is a group that is here for you. Anybody that is in any kind of career search, doesn't really matter the reason why. It could be that you were impacted by a decision in your own company, or it could also be that you've decided to take your own career in your own hands. We are here to provide resources and other information to help you be more efficient and more effective in your own job search. Among the resources we have is our LinkedIn group, so I do encourage you to visit our LinkedIn group if you have not done so in a while. It is called PSG of Mercer County. Our LinkedIn group has over 1,600 members right now, and they're all people that are job hunters and people in job search or were job search. So they kind of understand and get the process. And there's a good chance that if you try and contact any of these people, any that are in our network, in LinkedIn group, if you contact them, they'll probably get back to you. They'll probably be happy to respond to you and help you. We do ask that when you join our group, you find the group, click the join button. We will put you in pending mode, and then we will check about twice a week to see who's made a request. And we do want only people that have been to our group's sessions here, either in person when we were meeting at the Princeton Public Library, or also who are joining our virtual meetings now. So I do look at the attendance, and if I recognize your name, I accept. If not, what I will do is just send you a quick email. You, of course, are welcome to send me a quick email in advance to psgofmercercounty@gmail.com, psgofmercercounty@gmail.com. Just let me know you attended a meeting. That's if you and I haven't met, don't know each other, and would like to come in also to the LinkedIn group. So you do have to join the group and then just introduce yourself so I make sure that you were here. We do have a website. Our website is psgofmercercounty.org. And I'm just going to quickly share my screen. I want to show you something on our website. I did show you this last week, and it's starting to get a little bit of traction already. So this is our website. Hopefully you are seeing it. And we've improved or added functionality, I should say, to our job boards pages. So our traditional job boards pages were here. So this is now called Open Jobs. It's not called Job Boards. And these are links to, in each of these 7 counties, these are links to companies in those counties to their career pages. So if you can find open positions just by clicking to Mercer County and then maybe to the institution, the type of institution you want, and then you can find open jobs here. So this is the Mercer County's job opportunities page. But also what we did was we added this job postings page. This is brand new. This is a page that will allow recruiters, whether they're internal or external, to post jobs. Just click there, and for you to look at them. So we now have, let's see, 4, 6, 8 positions that are posted. Actually, there are 7 because I did post what was called a sample position for any of our recruiters. So do take a look. If you're interested in becoming a substitute teacher in Princeton, that's one post that's here. There's an IT position in Hamilton, New Jersey, and it's with some contact information. And you can click here, a poultry processor at Griggs Farm, a representative, a billing and collections person in Princeton, and we have a couple of more tech positions that are posted. So go take a look at this. There may be a position of interest. These are completely free for you to use. It's completely free for recruiters to post. So I do ask, as you meet recruiters or have a conversation, if you want to be helpful to them, do let them know that they can post here. You can't post, but recruiters can. What you can do, you can put your email address right in the email address bar, and then press the submit button. And so now what happens is you'll get emails each time there is a post by someone. So do take a look at that, and maybe that will be helpful for you as well. And let me stop sharing my screen. Good. I did not want to present. I didn't want to press the leave button. So that's what we have there. As for our ground rules for the meeting today, what I do ask is please keep your microphone on mute. And I will make sure to do that as well, because I am having background noise at my home with the tree people that are here cutting down some trees. And so do keep your microphone on mute. As for your camera, leave it on if you want. You don't have to leave it on if you don't want. It's your own choice. And excuse me. And so what you'll do is just be active that way. In just a moment, I'm going to share or ask Joey to share his screen. There we go. So Joey, you have the opportunity. But in the meantime, and as for questions, use chat. In the upper right corner of the GoToMeeting program that you have, there's a couple little icons. One is kind of a cartoon call out, a circle with a little tab at the end, the way comic book characters would be speaking. And so click that, that's chat. And we ask that you post your questions in chat. You can post other information in chat as well if you want to introduce yourself or share with other people. But as you post a question in chat, precede it with the word question. Because there's going to be a lot of comments. We're already over 50 people. There's a good chance there'll be a lot of comments or commentary in the chat, which is fine. And I want to make sure I don't miss any of the questions. And Joey wants to make sure he doesn't miss any of the questions as well. So this way I'll see question and then post your question. Joey is going to take a couple of breaks through the presentation, or if I see a couple of questions that begin to pile up at the end of a slide, I'll just let Joey know, oh, excuse me, we've got a couple of questions. So he's trying to make this as interactive as possible. Sometimes webinars can be a little challenging that way, but Joey's kind of got that down pat. So those are all the ground rules. So just, Joey, make sure as I turn this over to you, you share your screen and you turn your microphone on. But the first I will say that PSG is just pleased to welcome coach and business development consultant, Joey Himelfarb. Joey is an experienced motivator and salesperson. He has a professional experience across a range of industries, including high tech, automotive, and training and education. Joey studied physics and mechanical engineering and began his career working on the installation of transoceanic fiber optic telecommunication cables around the world. He now uses his problem-solving techniques to help professionals at all levels maintain a positive attitude and an optimistic approach. His Mojo coaching service focuses on helping people to be their best. PSG of Mercer County is always pleased to welcome one of our very good friends, Joey Himelfarb.
As Dave said, I want this to be interactive, so please ask away. I can't see you though, but hopefully you can all see me and see the presentation. So a lot of you I recognize, and some of you I'm not familiar with, but I don't want to take time from the presentation to introduce myself other than what David said. So I want to get right into this conversation about attitude, and specifically how a bad attitude is like a flat tire. And in your job search, which I'm assuming most of you are looking for work, no matter how good your resume looks and how great your cover letters appear, if your attitude is bad, you're in a bad way. And so I want to talk about attitude and how that it can help or hurt you as we move through the job search process. Now, if for no other reason, if you don't remember anything else in today's conversation, please remember this: the positive beats negative every day. To put it in English and also in math, for those of you who are technically inclined. If you don't remember anything else about this discussion, please remember that a positive attitude is probably going to be better for you than a negative one. Again, there's no guarantee that you'll get anywhere with it, but I'm pretty sure if you're negative, you won't. That's all I want to say about that. But I want to move forward nonetheless, because I think it's important that we at least get into what attitude is. Positive beats negative every day, folks. If you're into pictures, here's a gentleman who believes he's the best football player on the planet. He may not be, but he thinks he is. And so that's an important concept to keep in mind as we move forward regarding whatever you do in life, certainly with your job search. So these are the things we're going to talk about today. Attitude for sure. And I want to share with you 3 concepts or ideas that I think will help, hopefully, in your job search. Have nothing to do with your job search, but hopefully will at least imply to you that it's important that your head is in the right place. So we're going to talk about self-fulfilling prophecies. We'll talk about the child's headache, and then we're going to go into the worst day ever. Also, and then I'm going to end this discussion with some recommended reads that I'd like to suggest to you. And then again, like I said, throughout the presentation, please don't let me sit here and preach to you. If you have a comment or you want to say something, please either put a comment in the chat or speak out loud. Again, I don't see anybody. All I see is my screen. I'm hoping that you all can see and hear me. So attitude. Let's make this interactive and shout it out if you can. Tell me what you think attitude is. How would you define it?
Outlook, perspective.
Okay. Outlook and perspective. Anybody else?
A frame of mind.
I'm sorry?
A frame of mind.
Frame of mind. Okay. Give me one more, somebody.
How you
Viewpoint.
Viewpoint. Okay. So let's make this quick. I went to the dictionary and found out that this was the definition of attitude. It's a feeling or emotion with regard to a person, thing, or a situation. I think we can all agree with that, correct? That's what an attitude is. But now there's a couple of questions surrounding attitude, and I want to go through them with you. So the first one is, who is responsible for your attitude? Anybody? Who's responsible for the attitude that you have?
You are.
You are.
You are. Good. So far, so good. 1 for 1. And where does your attitude come from?
Within.
Within. 2 for 2. This is a smart audience. Experiences. Okay. When does your attitude arise? When does it take place? When does it show up?
At a specific point in time.
Okay. Anybody else?
Your interactions with other people.
Right. Or things or situations. Okay. So far, so
All
good.
the time.
Exactly. It happens all the time. You're always in an attitude of some kind. Good, bad, something. Somewhere in that spectrum, you're either feeling good, feeling bad, feeling great, feeling lousy. Okay? Why do you have an attitude at all? Why do you have an attitude about a person, thing, or situation?
It's a shortcut.
Because why?
It's a shortcut.
The shortcut? Anybody else?
It's how we naturally think.
It's how you think. It's because you're a human freaking being. That's why. You're not a machine, right? You are a human being. You have feelings and emotions, thoughts, ideas, values. That's why you have an attitude, okay? It may not be great, it may be spectacular, but that's why you have an attitude. But more importantly, I want to talk to you about how your attitude is created. Anybody have a suggestion about how it's created?
Based on your experiences with things.
Based on your experiences?
Based on your beliefs about a situation?
Correct. Based on your beliefs. Thank you.
Based upon what you were taught.
What you were taught, what you've learned.
Your interpretation or mindset.
Excellent. Excellent comments, thank you so much. So now we're going to get into the first of the 3 concepts I want to share with you about attitude. All right, now, if this was school and you were the students and I was the teacher, what we're going to talk about now is going to be on a test. So please pay attention. Now, David, this deck is going to be available to everybody when we're done, correct?
Yes, it will.
So take notes, because a lot of the things they're going to be talking about in the next 15 minutes or so, they're not on the slides. They're just going to be part of what I'm saying and what you're hearing from the crowd. So take notes if you will, but there's going to be a picture that's going to be evolving in front of you. And I want to go through this step by step because I think this is important. We're going to talk about self-fulfilling prophecies, okay? Now, if you believe or have read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, he will tell you that everything starts with an idea. No matter what we have seen on this planet that we have created, mankind, starts with an idea or a belief. So let me ask you folks, how would you define what a belief is? What's a belief?
Something you feel?
Something you feel, okay? Anybody else?
Your understanding of a situation.
Okay, your
Your
understanding,
interpretation.
your interpretation. Is that belief or feeling or interpretation true or false?
It's true to you at that point in time because it's how you perceive it.
Exactly right. Your beliefs can be true or they can be false, right? I can believe that I'm the best soccer player on the planet. I can believe that. It's not real. It's not the truth, but that's what I believe, okay? Everything starts with your belief, whether it's true or not, and we're going to get into that. Once your belief is in place, then something happens because of that belief, true or false. That something is called a behavior. And how would you define what a behavior is?
What you do or don't do based on those
Exactly.
things.
Thank you. It's what you do or don't do. If you don't do something, that's just as much a behavior as if you do. And again, this is all stemming from what you believe way back, whether it's true or false. Okay? So, moving along, that behavior or non-behavior then creates an experience. Now, that experience can be your impression of what's happened and what's taking place. Your impression or your experience can be either good or bad, or somewhere in the middle, right? So the belief that you have, true or false, generates a behavior or not, based on your belief. That behavior creates an experience, okay? If it was that simple, it'd be great, but I wouldn't be done with this diagram. You need two other things to happen, or two other things will happen. In between the belief and the behavior, there's this thing called confidence. Now, how would you define what confidence is, folks? What's your take on what you think confidence is?
When you're sure, or when you feel sure about something.
Right. It's the certainty. It's the how certain you are about feeling about something, okay? When you look at somebody who's confident, what do you see? What kind of face?
Happy.
Happy, smiling, content. And what if they're not confident? What do you see?
Debbie Downer.
Yeah, Debbie Downer, toxic Tony. All right? You're either confident or you're not, okay? Finally, to fill up this diagram, one more thing that happens in this whole self-fulfilling prophecy is a perception that occurs based on the experience that you've had, good or bad, and your perception is how you interpret the whole process, and it's either positive or negative. Now, having said all that, and this is important, we're gonna go through a couple of examples about this. These self-fulfilling prophecies take you down a rat hole into which you can't come out of, or they elevate you to the mountaintop where you can see the world. So for example, let's pick a student in school, let's say an 8th grader. Okay? An 8th grader has this belief that they are not a good student. It may not be true, it may be false, we don't know. She believes that she is not a good student. So because of that, her confidence about school and the whole process is not good. She looks like the person on the right. She's a Debbie Downer. When it comes to school and its behavior and how she has to deal with school, what's going to happen with her? She's not going to do the work that she's supposed to. She's not going to pay attention in class. She's probably going to sit in the back row. She's definitely not going to take notes. And if she does, they're going to be not good. And when she takes exams, she's not going to do well. Okay? So the experience that results from her behaviors, good or bad, are such that she's not going to have a good experience in school. And her perception or her interpretation of school is that it stinks. So when she comes home with a bad report card and she shows her parents, she says to them, see, I told you I'm not a good student. I'm not doing well in school. I'm not a good student. You know people like that? Have you heard about people like that? It happens all the time. Okay? Now, she has a friend who's also in the class with her who believes that she is the smartest student in the school, and she's going to help the teacher write the syllabus for the class. She's going to have the teacher write the test. Her belief, this other friend of hers, is that she is so smart that this is a no-brainer. She can't wait to go to school. So when she shows up for school, she's got a happy face on. And because she's happy and confident in her abilities and her beliefs, her behaviors are such that she's going to do what you'd expect a straight A student would do. She's going to sit in the front of the room. She's going to pay attention in class. She's not going to interrupt the teacher. She's going to take copious notes. She's going to go home and study, do her homework. And when it comes to take a test, instead of getting 100, she gets 150. I mean, that's how smart she is, right? So her interpretation or perception of school is that, yeah, this is the right thing. I'm in the right place. I love school. Okay? So the self-fulfilling prophecy, whether you're feeling good or bad about yourself, is self-fulfilling. So these students, depending on how they feel, are going to go down a rat hole or climb the mountain. Does that make sense? I lost you.
Oh, we're nodding our heads.
Okay, you're nodding. You're nodding your heads. I appreciate that. Okay, so now.
I have one question. I mean, isn't some of this part of your experience, for instance, in growing up and the way other people may treat you? It's either going to instill a positive or negative attitude about yourself.
If you're a job seeker, I want to go now to another example of the self-fulfilling prophecy and how your attitude in the job search can be affected one way or the other. If you're a job seeker and you don't think that you're cut out for this process, that may be true or false. I don't know, okay? But whatever you think it is going to affect how you deal with this process. So if you don't feel that you're right or can do this, your confidence during this process is going to be down in the dumps. You're going to look like a Debbie Downer or a toxic Tony, okay? So your behavior or lack thereof are going to be such that you won't do the research, you won't do an assessment of yourself, you won't figure out what you want to be when you grow up, you won't write the cover letters that are appropriate, you won't create a resume that's right on board, okay? And you won't do all the things that a job seeker is supposed to do. So what happens is your experience is such that you're sending out resumes that are ho-hum, your cover letters are at best third grade written like a third grade level, and your perception when you don't get interviews is that this stinks. I'm never going to get employed. Okay, so when your spouse or your partner says to you, "How'd it go today?" You're going to say, "I can't do this. It's not in me. It's not part of my skill set. I can't do this." Right, and so down the rat hole you go. On the other hand, if you take on the attitude of, "I can do this. I'm the right person. I got the right skills. I got the right abilities. I got the right talents. I am so ready to find the next job. I can't wait." Okay. Now there's a lot of details I'm leaving out, but your belief that you're the right person sends you on a trajectory that's completely different from the previous person. Because now your confidence is high. You got a smiling face on. You're no longer a Debbie Downer or a toxic Tony, and your behaviors are such that you go to networking events like this. You do assessments on yourself. You know, what you did before may not be what you want to do now. Okay, moving in the future. So everything is working in your favor, and you're doing all the things you're supposed to do. You do the research, you do your homework, you practice interviews, you role play, you write out the answers to questions that you think you're going to get. You do all the things that you're supposed to do. Your experience is that this ain't so bad. Now you have a better chance of getting these interviews because your resume is spot on, your cover letters are now written like an intelligent person wrote them, and your perception is that once you start getting interviews, okay, I can do this. You may not get the job offers, but at least you're getting interviews. So now your self-fulfilling prophecy is no longer taking you down a rat hole. It's an upward trajectory, okay? A lot easier said than done. I will grant you that. And it's frustrating in today's marketplace. I'm looking for work too. It's not fun. It stinks. But I can't be walking around with my tail between my legs and my chin on the ground. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't help the cause. So your attitude has to be positive and upbeat. Let me take a moment here to take a pause and see if anybody has any comments or questions.
I've got a question. Doesn't attitude get developed though when you're young? When the perception of what other people think of you when you're growing up, you might get a lot of negative feedback from teachers or parents, and that kind of stays with you.
Yep. And so you can let that bring you down, or you can do what you can to work around it. You can choose to be negative. You can choose to be positive. That's your choice. And there are plenty of people dealing with ageism. I'm one of them, right? It is what it is, right? When they say I'm overqualified, it's not I'm overqualified. I'm plenty qualified, right? When they say, you may leave after 6 months, you say, I don't know how to say this. Let me ask you this. I would say something like that. You know what? I've heard of 30-year-olds who have 4 jobs already. So why would you think I would want to leave in 6 months when you would take a 30-year-old who would leave in 6 months, right? So you've got to change the way you look at things and how you approach this process. You can't take what they say as gospel. That makes sense? So this is a story some of you are probably familiar with. If you have, I apologize. But for those of you who don't, this child says to the grandfather, I have a splitting headache. And he says, what's the matter? And she says, I've got these combative things going on in my mind. Sometimes I feel good, sometimes I feel bad. I'm not sure what the problem is. So he says, well, you have 2 wolves or dogs that are inside your head vying for your attention. Okay? She says, what do you mean? He says, well, there's a good wolf and there's a bad wolf. Okay? And if you go to the next slide, Dave.
Okay.
See there? Okay.
Headache,
So you
yep.
should see
Good and evil.
You should see child care, good and evil, right? So the grandfather says to the child, you have a good wolf and an evil wolf residing inside of you, and they are vying for your attention. So the good wolf has a set of traits and characteristics that are above and beyond what everybody thinks about. The evil wolf is negative, downtrodden, again, Debbie Downer, toxic Tony, okay? And she says, what do you mean? He says, well, I'll explain this. If you go to the next slide, Dave.
Okay.
Okay.
You see all the
There's
positive words. Yep,
words
see the
and
list.
phrases. So the good wolf has all these feelings, phrases, emotions that are part of its being, if you will. And it's trying its best to have you remember and feel these feelings and thoughts and ideas. Okay? At the same time, next slide, Dave. At the same time, the evil wolf has these negative words and phrases flowing in your brain, in your heart, in your DNA. And it wants you to feel all these things. It wants you to feel distrustworthy. It wants you to feel like you're giving up. It wants you to hate. It wants you to feel despair. It wants you to feel discontented, right? So the evil wolf and the good wolf are vying for your attention. Next slide, Dave. And so she says to the grandfather, so how do I stop them? And he says, it's really simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Next slide, Dave. He says to her, you have to feed the good wolf. Next slide. And you have to starve the other wolf. Are you with me?
Yep. Feed and starve. Okay. I see them.
Feed and starve. Okay. She says, what do you mean? Next slide. He says, you've got to let these words and phrases and mentality make up your DNA, make up your heart, make up your soul. This is how you should be thinking on a regular basis. Not every third week, not every second Tuesday of the month, every day. In fact, every hour. In fact, all the time. We talked about that earlier when we talked about attitude and when does it take place. It's all the time. Your attitude should always be positive. Is your attitude always going to be positive? Of course not. But that's what you should be striving for, right? Because if you don't, next slide, Dave. If you don't strive to maintain a positive attitude, this is what happens. The negativity takes over your life, and you start feeling disgusted. You start feeling stressed, ungrateful, disillusioned, inhumane sometimes, okay? Who wants to be around somebody like that? Would you want to be around somebody like that? It's not fun. It's not pleasant. And nobody wants that, nor do they deserve it. And so it's in your best interest as a job seeker, right, to be the good wolf, to take on that mentality of, I can do this. I'm upbeat. I'm positive. There's love in the air. There's love in my heart. And I'm going to do what I can to make that work for everybody. Any questions or concerns about that? Any comments? It's a good time to stop right there. I'm going to give people a chance to.
Let me look for the questions.
I want you to digest that. Okay.
No questions in the chat.
Okay. So far, so good then. So let's move forward. Next slide, Dave. Just say worst day ever?
Yes, worst day ever.
Okay, so this is concept number 3 about perspective. When we talked about this as well. All right, now I don't see you all. You all see yourselves, and you can hear me, correct? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read to you a poem that I found online. This was written by a teenager in Brooklyn about 5 years ago. It's entitled "The Worst Day Ever." I want you to hear I want you to hear it as I say it, and then when we're done, I want to ask you a couple of questions. So here we go. Worst day ever. Today was the absolute worst day ever. And don't try to convince me that there's something good in every day, because when you take a closer look, this world is a pretty evil place. Even if some goodness does shine through once in a while, satisfaction and happiness don't last. And it's not true that it's all in the mind and the heart, because true happiness can be attained only if one's surroundings are good. It's not true that good exists. I'm sure you can agree that the reality creates my attitude. It's all beyond my control, and you'll never in a million years hear me say that today was a very good day. Now that you know that a teenager wrote that, how do you feel about that? How does that make you feel?
Disappointing.
Okay. Anybody else?
Sad for her.
Sad for her. Mm-hmm.
It was a
Fatal.
negative. It was a very negative attitude.
Very negative attitude. Mm-hmm.
Right. Apprehensive.
Apprehensive. Thank you. Anything else?
She probably had
Downtrodden.
some bad experiences.
Bad experiences, right? Her perspective is just, it's awful, right? It's just, you hear this and it's like, oof, feel bad for her, right? Anybody else?
Hopeless.
Hopeless. Okay. You get the gist, right? It's not a great feeling that she has imparted upon you, and you feel bad for her. She's hopeless, disgruntled, just not in a good way. Okay. I'm going to read the poem again, but now I'm going to read it from the bottom to the top. Same poem, same lines, but I'm reading it from a different perspective. Here goes. Today was a very good day, and you'll never in a million years hear me say it's all beyond my control. My attitude creates the reality. I'm sure you can agree that it's not true that good exists only if one's surroundings are good. True happiness can be attained because it's all in the mind and the heart. And it's not true that satisfaction and happiness don't last. Some goodness does shine through once in a while, even if this world is a pretty evil place. Because when you take a closer look, there's something good in every day. And don't try to convince me that today was the absolute worst day ever. How do you feel now?
Great.
Great. Anybody else?
Later. Upbeat.
Upbeat.
Hopeful, encouraged.
Encouraged.
Optimistic.
Optimistic. Same poem. Upbeat. Lively. Hopeful. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Ain't such a bad day after all. You change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. There's a great story about some of you may have heard this on a previous Zoom call I've had with others in other groups, but the story goes, the two top sales people from a shoe company were sent to an island where people lived who didn't wear shoes. So when they got off to the island, one went left and one went right. And at the end of their journey, after a couple of days, they came back to the home office, and the one who went left said to the CEO, "We're doomed. I'm never going to sell shoes there. Nobody wears shoes." The one who went to the right said, "This is great. We're going to make so much money. They don't wear shoes. We're going to sell them so many shoes." Both these people were put in the same situation, same set of circumstances. One had an attitude of, this isn't going to work. The other one's attitude was, I'm going to make this work. So what's the point of that? Don't look at the market. Don't look at the politics. Don't look at the weather. Don't listen to your spouses or your partners or your children or your neighbors. Don't blame the traffic. Don't blame the weather. Don't blame anyone or anything. You're responsible for your attitude, as I am as well. Okay? So I can't walk around saying, woe is me. All these people are getting laid off. Therefore, I'm not going to find work. All of you are seeing and hearing and reading about people that are getting work. They're finding jobs. They're becoming employed again. There's no reason you cannot. There's no reason I cannot. But our attitude is 90% of the battle, I suspect, I suggest. Any thoughts, comments, anything in the chat box?
One was, what is the name of the poem?
The name of the poem is called Worst Day Ever. And it was written by a teenager. I think she was in 11th to 12th grade in Brooklyn. I wrote her name down because I knew somebody was going to ask me. It's Hani Gorkin, Chanie, Gorkin, Gorkin. If you Google Worst Day Ever poem, it'll pop up and you'll see it. I'm not making this up, and I'm not taking credit for it. But she got a lot of attention for this poem. And I think it makes a strong point on your perspective on how you look at things really has bearing on how you deal with things. Because it is so easy, ladies and gentlemen, to look at the world around us. I haven't even mentioned the pandemic, right? I'm not even bringing that up, right? But if you look at the world around us, it's so easy to sit on a couch, assume the fetal position, and suck our thumbs. It's so easy to do that. But not everybody's doing that. Some people are still living their lives. Some people are still going out and finding work. It's doable. It's possible. Is it easy? Nope. Is it simple? Nope. I want you all, when you get a chance, when we're done with this call, I want you to pull out your birth certificates from wherever they are in your safe deposit box, file folder in your desk, wherever you have your birth certificate, and I want you to look over it, front and back, and find me the phrase that says, life is fair. You won't find it, okay? Life is not fair. Life is life. It's a set of challenges. And when you're completing all the challenges, guess what? There'll be another one tomorrow. There's always another challenge, right? But we got to deal with it. Otherwise, stay at home, assume the fetal position, and suck our thumbs. It's a struggle. It's a struggle. I'm not arguing. I don't want to belittle what we're up against. But what I just want to say, the point I'm trying to make is that we're all in this together. And our attitude is so critical. Think about the people who come to you who are down in the dumps. How prepared or willing are you to help these people? It's almost embarrassing sometimes when they got their tail between their legs and their chin on the chest. You know what? I wake up in the morning, I put my feet on the ground, I'm like, okay, it's going to be a good day. Joan Rivers used to look in the obituaries. And if her name wasn't in it, it was going to be a good day.
Very good.
Right?
Thank you.
So,
yep.
Right? So it's just, a perspective. It's how you look at things. Okay? Any other thoughts, comments in the chat box, Dave?
Not right now.
All right. Okay. Let's move on. All right? Because we're almost done. I want to summarize what we've talked about and some key takeaways.
On that slide, good.
All right. Next slide is we're going to run down the menu, if you will. Okay. So the
Very
first
good.
button, right? Attitude is a feeling or emotion. Okay. It's you, folks. You're human beings. Okay. You cannot deny how you feel, but you've got to do what you can to switch from being negative to being positive. Again, not easy, not simple, but it's got to be done. You can't walk around as like a Debbie Downer or a toxic Tony. It's going to be a challenge to find work. It really is. Next, Dave. Regarding the self-fulfilling prophecies, your thoughts can become your reality. What you think about is what you become. and many people have written books about this, and we'll talk about this later on, but what you think about is what you become. And if you think about what you don't have, and you think about what you lack, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get more of what you don't have. Again, there's no guarantee being positive and upbeat is going to get you all the things that you want or are lacking, but it's got to be better than not feeling that way. Got to be. Next button, Dave. Good versus evil. We talked about that with the wolves, okay? Do what you can to keep in mind that you've got this good wolf inside of you doing its best to keep the evil wolf at bay. Because it's so easy for the evil wolf to rise up. It's so easy to be negative. All of you have been on calls, go to meetings, Zoom calls, Microsoft Teams, where you've heard people be negative and downtrodden, and you hear it. And sometimes you just don't want to listen. Sometimes you hear it. Sometimes you're empathetic. Good for you. But the negativity, if you let it fester, it just grows and grows and grows. And it can be dangerous to you, especially when you're looking for work. Next, Dave. Your attitude is a function of your perspective, based on that poem, right? Worst day ever. Think about where you are and where you want to be, all right? How you look at things is so critical. It's so important. And you've got to have a positive attitude. Again, not easy, not simple, but it's in your best interest, in our best interest. I keep saying I'm included in this. I'm looking for work as well, folks. I listen to this and I have to stop myself and say, stop preaching, Joey, and just get the message out that a positive attitude is going to be so much better than a negative one. Next, Dave. Anybody else? Any other thoughts, comments, key takeaways? What have you learned in the last half hour or so that you didn't know before we started this conversation?
Okay, in the chat, I thought I saw a question. Give me a moment, please. There it is. This is from Lily. How do you deal with Debbie Downer and Toxic Tony and not let them get you down? Example, if you are driving and your passenger complains about the traffic.
Okay, great question, Lily. Thank you. So, if your passenger complains about the traffic, my comment to them is, I have no control over the traffic. There's nothing I can do or think or say that's going to change the traffic. Now, if it's an accident, that's unfortunate. Hopefully nobody got hurt. Right? If we had left 10 minutes earlier, maybe we wouldn't be sitting in traffic. But you can't say that to an irate passenger who's mad at the traffic. All you can do is say, it's out of our control. Right? Let's have a conversation about something else. Let's put a positive spin on this. At least we're in a vehicle and we don't have to walk to wherever we're going. It's a stretch, I know, but you know what? Wherever you are and whatever you're doing, it could always be worse. You could be in public transportation. That would be worse. You'd have to wait at a bus stop. That would be worse. Right? Wherever you are, there's somebody worse off than you. There's somebody better off than you. Now, I don't wish on the ones who are worse off. I don't wish that on them. And the ones that are better off, God bless them. But here's where I am right now. And this is what I got to deal with. And what can I control? The only thing I can control are the thoughts that are inside my head. I can't control the traffic. I can't do it. It's out of my hands. So I just got to go with the flow, right? Put on some music, listen to a CD, right? Let's have a conversation. Let's talk to each other, and maybe it'll take our mind off the traffic. How's that, Lily? Does that help?
And AK has a question. What's your favorite personal approach to turning around a bad attitude when you have one?
Exercise.
Okay. Exercise helps. If I have a bad attitude, some of you have heard this already, and I apologize if this is old news, but when I'm having a bad day, my bad days don't last very long. They last about maybe 26 minutes. And that's how long it takes me to watch an episode of Frasier. In fact, sometimes I don't have to watch the episode. I could just watch a scene. I can go into YouTube, pull up an episode of Frasier, and any scene will just put me in stitches. Now, am I going to be better off after I watch 16? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But I am not going to let myself be brought down by a negative mentality when I know that being positive is better than being negative. I was doing a presentation. I was doing this presentation several years ago to a group on a Saturday morning, and it was a Friday night, and I was all prepared to do the presentation. On Friday night, I went to the gym, I went to ShopRite, and I went to the post office to get mail from my P.O. box. Friday night. I finished the workout at 9 o'clock. I do my shower. I get in the car. I go to ShopRite, pick up a couple of things. It's now 9:30, quarter to 10. I get to the post office, and I'm like down in the dumps. I'm thinking to myself, it's a Friday night. Why am I working out by myself in a gym? Why am I going to ShopRite to buy food that I probably don't even need? And why am I going to a post office to pick up mail? This wasn't the plan I had for my life. And as I'm thinking that, I'm now remembering that in 12 hours, I've got to go to a group and present positive mental attitude. And I'm telling you, in the time it took me to think that thought and take one step into the post office, I changed my attitude. I'm like, you know what? I'm grateful I can go work out. I'm grateful I have the wherewithal that I can even do that. I'm grateful that I can go buy food and put it in my stomach. And I'm grateful for the opportunity that people are sending me mail. And I'm grateful that I have an opportunity tomorrow morning to make a presentation and share my story. And I'm telling you, in an instant, I went from feeling negative to feeling positive. That's what you got to do. I can't help you do that other than tell you that story and share with you that story, because I did really change on a dime. I do that a lot. When I'm feeling negative, I do that a lot. I recall that story. I recall that night. I recall those feelings that I was feeling of inadequacy, of feeling, why am I by myself? Why I'm in ShopRite at 10 o'clock at night on a Friday? I should be out with my friends gallivanting, doing all the stuff that quote unquote normal people do. So it was easy to beat myself up, but it was just as easy to get myself out of that doldrum.
Okay. There are no other questions in the chat right now.
Okay, then let's move forward.
So I've got the recommended read slide up, or the heading.
Yep, thank you. Yep, heading. All right, so tap away there. We're going to go one by one, all right? So the first book that I want to recommend to everybody is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I talked about it briefly. Napoleon Hill was commissioned by Andrew Carnegie back in the 30s to meet with all of Andrew Carnegie's closest friends who were multimillionaires at the time. And in the process, Andrew Carnegie said to Napoleon, find out what made these people tick, what made them successful. He wrote this book, and the beginning of the book, and what I talked about earlier, is that all of these rich, successful professionals had one thing in common, at a minimum. They all had a desire to do or be something. And from that desire sprung all of their successes. Okay? In your job search, it's critical that you know where you want to go and what you want to do. Otherwise, you're going to be all over the place. You're going to be like a pinball. You want to be focused and direct and know where you want to go and where you want to do it. That will help you in your job search. I do a whole nother presentation on that. And but it's critical that you do that, that you know where you want to be and what you want to do. Otherwise, you'll be distracted by all the things going on around you, and your job search will be not directed, not focused. Okay? Next book, Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. Maxwell Maltz was a plastic surgeon in the 40s and 50s. He's pretty good at what he did. People would come to him and say, doctor, can you fix me? This is too big. This is too small. This is falling down. Gravity is winning. Bring it back. And he would do all this plastic surgery on these people. And he'd finish with them, peel off the bandages, and they look really good. But they would feel really bad because they're like, you didn't do anything. And he's like, what are you talking about? So after many patients would tell him this, he realized what the problem was. It wasn't him, because he really did a good job on helping these people externally. What do you think the problem was with these patients? Anybody?
What they felt inside hadn't changed.
Exactly. No matter what he did on the outside, it wouldn't have mattered. Their self-esteem was low or null and void. So no matter what Dr. Maltz did for these folks, it wasn't helpful. So their self-esteem was critical. Our self-esteem is critical. So it's a great read. It's an easy read, and I certainly recommend it to everybody. A lot of things we talked about today, I pulled out of that book in Dr. Malta's findings. So that's a great read. I would recommend that. Next book, Dave. We talked about this, As a Man Thinketh, by James Allen. Written in 1903. It's a very short book. It's pretty cerebral. If you have insomnia, it's a good book to read at night. It'll help you fall asleep. But you'll learn some really interesting things. Effectively, as a man thinketh, so he becomes. And what you think about is what you become. And it becomes your essence, and it becomes who you are. And if you think down in the dumps and lack, that's what you're going to become. If you think positive and upbeat and think abundance, it's possible that's what you'll become. Again, no guarantee, but you might as well think along those lines than think the other way. Okay? Next book. Probably one of my favorite books, The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. If you breathe, you should read this book. I think it should be called The Owner's Manual to Human Beings. I've read this book several times. I'm always referring to it. A lot of my day, a lot of my thoughts revolve around the things that I've learned from Og Mandino in this book. It's a great read. It's a misnomer because it's really not about salespeople as it is about people and how to make you better at what you do and how you survive on this planet. I think it's a great read. Let's see. Next tack, Dave. Anybody know who these two people are in this picture? Or what they're standing in front of?
Penn and Teller.
Hewlett and Packard.
Hewlett and Packard, correct. Bill Hewlett and Dave Packard, the founders of HP, right, are standing in front of the garage where they started their company back in 1939, where they sold an audio oscillator to Disney in 1938. Dave Packard, the gentleman on the left, the taller person, wrote a one-page, I don't want to call it a treatise, almost like a how-to on how to treat other people. And he called it Dave's 11 Simple Rules. You can Google it and you can find it online. It's Dave Packard's 11 Simple Rules. And effectively what he does is he says, think about the other person first before you think about yourself. It's almost like an homage to Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Dale Carnegie will tell you, you'll have more success with people if you are interested in them as opposed to trying to be interesting to them. So when you're looking for work, ladies and gentlemen, and you're networking with people, especially on LinkedIn, I know a lot of us are LinkedIn heavy users here. When you go looking for somebody on LinkedIn, don't just ask them for a job. Have an interest in what they're doing and what they're trying to accomplish. Maybe there's some problem that you can help them solve. Maybe there's somebody that they need to meet that you can introduce them to. Heck, maybe there's somebody that you can send them to who could end up working for them. Show an interest in those people, and guess what happens? They become interested in you. But the sequence of events is you be interested in them, and then let them become interested in you. If you read Dave's 11 Simple Rules, he elaborates on a lot of it. Okay? Next button, Dave. This is my favorite read. I would recommend everybody read this. And here's what's great about The Little Engine That Could. First of all, it's in color. None of the other books are. There are no charts or diagrams. It's written for a third grader, if you will. It's short enough that you can read it in 10 minutes. And it's a great message. If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. Good time to stop here. Let me ask if anybody has any thoughts, anything in the chat.
There are no questions in the chat. Let's see. Let's see. Just some comments and people sharing, so that's nice.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
Joey, I wonder what you thought about never eat alone.
Never eat alone. Excellent. I love that. Keith Ferrazzi.
Of course, they don't deal in that book, as I recall it, too much with the Debbie Downers. But
Right.
for networking, and if you're eating with someone who's upbeat, et cetera, it really can do a lot for you.
Absolutely. Definitely. Absolutely, John. Yes, I agree. And as far as networking is concerned, again, I apologize if you've heard this before, and I'm sorry, but to me, this is so critical, right? Everybody you meet knows 250 people that you do not know. That's a lot of people. And you don't know who can help you. It may be the person you know. It may be somebody that they know. It may even be somebody that neither of them know. You don't know. But here's the thing, right? The next person you talk to could introduce you to somebody who gets you an interview. The next person you talk to could introduce you to somebody who introduces you to somebody who's a hiring manager. You don't know that. You just don't know, right? There's 7 billion people on the planet. So networking is critical. Give yourselves all a pat on the back for being here on a Friday morning. I'm assuming most of you are in New Jersey. You don't have to be on this call right now. You could be outside enjoying this beautiful weather in the first week of November. But here you are in a networking event, learning something about attitude and meeting people. I'm sure in the chat room, people are introducing themselves like they do on other calls, right? And you're making connections. That's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. So yeah, so never eat alone. This is as close to that. This is as close to that as we can get. Anybody else? We good?
That's it. Yep, I think so. That's it in the chat.
Okay. So let's move on to the next and last slide, Dave.
There it is. Oh, your contact info.
All my contact information, boys and girls. That's how you can reach me. I got my email, my LinkedIn profile, my website, and my coaching practice, my phone number. It's all there, right? All this is transparent. Everything I share with you today is my take on everything that I've learned and read about, experienced, watched, heard, things I've learned from my clients, my customers, my competitors, my colleagues, my children. I mean, it's a conglomeration, and it's my take on how your positive mental attitude is so critical. Your positive self-talk is so important. You're responsible for your attitude and what goes on between your ears. And again, I know I hate to beat a dead horse, but you might as well be positive and upbeat. I mean, when it rains, I went to school in Buffalo. If I never see another snowflake, that's fine with me. But when I hear people complain that it's raining, I think to myself, you know what? If this was snow, we'd be in a heap of a mess when it stops. Now, there may be some flooding when it rains, but it's going to go away. It's not the end of the world, right? If I was an umbrella salesperson, I'd love when it rains, right? It's all on how you look at things, right? All on your perspective.
Okay. Well, Joey, thank you so much. So your programs, sorry?
I say you're welcome.
Oh, terrific. Your programs are always so motivational. I'm so glad that when you're able to come visit with us. And yeah, you demonstrate such an upbeat attitude, but we're human beings. It's not going to happen all the time. It's not going to happen every day. Maybe each of us need to find our Fraser, or something that will take us out of a little bit of a doldrum and into a more upbeat scenario. But
sure.
Great ideas, great suggestions, and thank you so much.
My pleasure. Again, I'm sorry about the technology, but we made it work as best as we could.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we got past it, and that was what was very important. And let's just wrap up. I got to reset my screen. There we are. So I've stopped sharing for now.
All right.
Just to let you know, folks, if you do hear in a moment any loud motors, they're about to grind a stump in my backyard. So that's what we're going to hear. Lots of distractions today, but nothing took away from the program. That's what's most important. Certainly want to let you know what's coming up over the next couple of weeks. One of our questioners a little while ago was Bill Ameralt. Bill's a friend of PSG also, and Bill will be here next week to talk about inspiration, motivation for your successful job search. So kind of the next step after having the positive attitude. So Bill will be here next week, Bill Ameralt, inspiration and motivation for your successful job search. The following week will be Colleen Ferry will be here, Rise Above the Competition, an interactive lesson on interviewing. So that's what we have coming here for the next 2 weeks. There are other groups that are presenting regularly, and so I want to let you know that next Saturday, not tomorrow, but next Saturday, at the Breakfast Club of New Jersey, Bill LaChance will be presenting. And Bill will be talking about money-saving strategies during a career transition, including health insurance, taxes, college costs, investment fees, and more. So this is not a wealth management presentation. It's really a money management during transition. If you haven't seen Bill present before, always a wonderful presentation. TheBreakfastClubNJ.com, TheBreakfastClubNJ.com, next Saturday, the 14th at 8 o'clock in the morning. New Jersey Job Seekers meets every Tuesday evening, and they will be meeting again this Tuesday evening. And so the meeting link will be posted in the PSG of Mercer County LinkedIn group. We post it every week. It's the same meeting link, so just go find that. Tuesday, 7:30 in the evening. Monday, as every Monday, PSG of Central New Jersey. Check psgcnj.biz, psgcnj.biz, and they have a session coming up this Monday called Recruiters Unwrapped, and several recruiters will be there. Sounds like a panel. And PSG of Morris County. These PSG groups are our cousin organizations, psgmc.org, psgmc.org, every Wednesday at 9:30 in the morning. So that's what we have coming up over the next couple of weeks. We are going to keep the session open for a little while longer. As the machinery in my yard gets loud, I will be turning my microphone off, but we'll be keeping it open so we can still have any amount of open networking that you'd like. So hopefully you'll be able to participate. And so please stick around if you can, and if you want to, you can open your mics and just have a nice informal discussion. But if not, we hope to see you at least virtually very soon. And I'll just say goodbye, everybody.